I'd like to tell the story about how the Japanese bombed Shanghai in 1937, and I was on a small gunboat trying to escape because my mother and father didn't get along, and my mother wanted to go either to Japan or the Philippines, not the U.S. My mother took me in a small gunboat, which was headed for a German ship, of all things, called the Gneisenau. And the SS Gneisenau, I don't know if you got that yet, but this is a very large German cruiser ship. On the gunboat, the Japanese poured guns or bullets down on this ship and killed one of the Chinese people who was manning the ship. And so I saw my first human being dead at the age of 7. And the bullets that were flying were not exactly pleasant at age 7. So that was my first terrible war experience. And I don't know how our little ship escaped from being sunk, but then we got onto the big ship, and it looked very good, but then we went to Hong Kong, and that's a 3-day trip, nice. Oh, we went to Japan on the way, and my mother asked me, my mother's name was Edith, she asked me, how do you like the Japanese? And I said, I don't like them at age 7, according to my mother. So my mother decided to go to the Philippines. I really think she already decided to go to the Philippines, but she asked me. We spent one day in Kobe, and it was quite an interesting sight, even though one day, because what I saw was a lot of houses by the Japanese, all made of paper, which meant to me that they could easily be bombed. And I think the same happened in Tokyo when 10, 15 years later they did bomb, the U.S. bomb. So anyway, then we went to Hong Kong, and I thought all was quiet on the way to Manila, and we had a storm, a typhoon they call it, one of the worst typhoons in Asian history. And the German ship called the Gneisenau, my grandparents were already on the ship, but they were on an upper deck, and my mother and I were on a lower deck, cheaper. And we had to, at 4 a.m., we had to wear life belts, and we were expected to have to go overboard in lifeboats. But the German captain, I'm told, was very smart. An Italian ship happened to hit the back of the ship he was on. He somehow got the anchor of that ship and was able to stay relatively stable and not sink. But the Italian ship did sink after it hit us. I didn't identify with those people. But anyway, but it was an adventure to me. I was up there, 4 o'clock, the captain came with a gun, ready to shoot anybody who wouldn't take his orders, and we were all ready to go overboard. But my grandparents were upstairs and never heard a word, because the captain didn't want to bother the upstairs people yet. So we survived that storm and spent 2 days getting the ship repaired. And then we went to Manila. And